What up, everybody? Look what just arrived. It is the keyboard that has been causing a lot of controversy recently. This one, right here. I believe this one was the first to incorporate it, and because of this feature, this keyboard has even been likened to a cheating keyboard, giving you an unfair advantage in FPS games. So I bought it myself. I'm gonna use this as my main keyboard now, replace my old one, and see what all the fuss is really about. Let's unbox this bad boy. I decided to go with the 10 keyless version of this keyboard, which means it doesn't have like the numpad over here. But I never even used the numpad, and I think this is going to save a lot of space on my desk. This is my current keyboard, which is looking pretty gross and dirty at the moment. It's a Corsair keyboard. I don't think I really want to do this with it, do I? Yeah, it's about time this keyboard's lifespan comes to an end. This is a completely non-sponsored video, by the way. Don't worry, Razer didn't give me this for free or anything. I literally just heard a bunch of hype about this keyboard and bought it myself, so this review and its features will be completely impartial. This wrist rest is interesting. It seems to just detach, but it's also magnetic. And as always, Razer going hard with the RGB, but that's not what we're here for. This keyboard's biggest selling point, to me personally, and what all the hype is about, is a feature called Razer Snapt. Let's have a little look at what their official site says about Snapt mode. Advanced input priority for faster execution. And this is what all the controversy has been about. With a standard gaming keyboard, in any instance where two opposing directions are detected, no movement is registered. AKA, I'm doing my little WASD here on the A and the D, and if I'm holding A and then I hold D at the same time, then it cancels each other out and nothing happens. This causes your character to stop moving and remain stationary for as long as those two keys remain actuated. For any one direction to be registered, the other key must be first released. We've got a little diagram of a guy standing still when both buttons are pressed. However, with Snapt mode, in any instance where two opposing directions are detected, it will register the last input as priority. This means your character will no longer stop moving in the heat of battle when two opposing directional keys are pressed. Instead, you can now change directions instantly without having to release the previous key. This diagram illustrates that you're holding both keys and an input direction is registered instead of cancelled out. If I was doing this, holding A, I'm going sideways, and then I hold this, now suddenly I'm going the other direction despite both keys being pressed. Normally you would never ever do this. However, in competitive gaming, in stuff like Counter-Strike where you have to counter strafe, so you're holding this button and then you tap that to cancel out your movement and stay still on the spot and more accurate, there may be a very slight millisecond here where both are held at the same time just as you switch keys. With Snapt mode, you will always get perfect strafes 100% of the time. Here's a demonstration of a normal keyboard without Snapt mode, and you can see how kind of inaccurate it is. And then Snapt mode with the perfect strafes gives a hell of a lot more accuracy. Currently, about a fifth of the CS2 Pro scene are using this keyboard. Wooting was the first keyboard company to, I think, come up with some kind of inbuilt keyboard system to do this and improve your strafes. However, it was nowhere near as good as Razer's Snapt. Now that Razer Snapt has been released, they've released their own version of the Snapt. This has been literally within the last few days that they did this, and I'm more than positive that many keyboard companies are going to follow this exact same pattern. People with keyboards like this do have an advantage over you, whether you like it or not. It's not detectable, it's not bannable, and currently it's not an offense to you within the gaming scene. Rops, I'm sure a lot of you know, pro CS2 player, he says Razer's new keyboard shouldn't be allowed in tournaments. Yeah, shouldn't be allowed, nice work, but this is a bit too much. Literally a macro/script, otherwise known as null binds. CSKZers know the effect of this. It basically removes the human error part when you move/strafe. It's been against the rules and bannable. I don't think you are wrong, Rops. It is basically a macro/script built into a keyboard that's perfectly usable. And I think it's almost certainly time to enable Snapt mode and test this bad boy out myself. I had to update the firmware of my keyboard to actually enable this. If I hit the function key and the shift, you can see that the A and D go red, meaning Snap Tap is now turned off. And if I hit the function key and the shift again, it's now A and D are white, meaning it is on. My strafing has always been pretty terrible, which is why I was so interested in this keyboard. Let's have a look with it off. This is basically with it off. It's not too bad, but I am like slowing down completely before I'm tapping all of these heads. I'm like coming to a complete stop basically. So I need to try and do this, which is like counter strafe and then aim on them just as I've counter strafed. Snap Tap is now on. It definitely seems a little bit more accurate than it was. You still obviously have to know how to counter strafe a little bit, which I've never been good at, to be fair, but it does seem to make it a hell of a lot more accurate. It's a shame my aim is still pretty bad though. This is with it off. And this is with it on. This is with it off, with the spamming both directions, and this is with it on. It does feel a little bit more responsive, like you just the tiniest bit, you go in the direction that you want to faster. This is me cancelling out my movement with my latest Razer Snapt embedded keyboard. And this is my movement on the old keyboard. Here's some examples of it being used in other games. Overwatch like this kind of jiggle peak looks pretty OP. Quite a bit louder than my other keyboard, which I don't like too much. This is me peeking with new keyboard with Snap Tap on. This is me peeking with old keyboard without Snap Tap. Ooh, that feels actually pretty different. It's a bit more slidey, whereas this one, it feels less slidey. It feels a lot more responsive. I think just for movement in general, this keyboard is going to be a little bit of a game changer. I know with things like long jump, Maxime was demonstrating that if you're spamming the A and the D with this keyboard, you can actually get a lot further on the long jump naturally. One thing I'm not the biggest fan of is the fact that on this keyboard, this rest detaches. Obviously it's magnetic here. Sometimes I pull it back a little bit with my wrist and it comes apart. With this keyboard, it's actually attached and you cannot pull it off, and I kind of prefer that a little bit. Let's have a little B-hop test and see whether my movement has improved or not. Obviously this server has like custom settings. I feel like I'm getting far too much speed straight away. Movement wise, I feel like I can be a little bit more precise with this keyboard, to be honest. It feels like I build speed a lot more quickly than I used to, which is taking a little bit of time to control. But let's go back to B-hopping with my old keyboard. Look at that. I feel like the speed difference is considerable. Okay, I'm starting to build a little bit of speed here now. That's good. But it feels a lot easier on the other keyboard. I've never been much of a long jumper, but let's see what I can achieve. I think I got speed of about 290-ish. Can I achieve better with the Razer Snap Tap feature? Oh, I mean, we instantly got up to 300 then. Yeah, and I hadn't seen a 300 on this keyboard. I'm doing exactly the same, but we're landing around 290 with my old keyboard. With the new keyboard, it seems a lot easier to get to higher speeds, therefore longer long jumps, another 300. This keyboard definitely gives you a slight advantage. It is minimal, but anything in the competitive space of gaming, like down to milliseconds, is a competitive advantage. So if you consider it in terms like that, this keyboard is actually quite a big advantage. My movement feels snappier, everything just feels a bit more natural and quick, and to me, it is actually noticeable. I didn't think it would be noticeable whatsoever, but I'd imagine clips like this show that your opponents will definitely consider it noticeable as well. Mr. Maxim made a really interesting video recently on this keyboard as well, and I think this top comment kind of sums it all up by saying, so if I put commands in the config, I get banned, but if I buy the keyboard, I'm not. Pathetic. That is where the controversy comes in, I think, because the script that does this is illegal, but the hardware equivalent is allowed. Is this keyboard cheating? Should it be banned from competitive gaming? Should it be allowed at all in gaming? Or is this the new standard of keyboards? And every keyboard after this is going to follow suit, and people are going to forget about timings of counter strafing and stuff like that, because this keyboard's basically going to do it all for them. I hope everybody enjoyed the video. Slap that like button if you did. Leave your thoughts down below in the comments. I'll be very, very interested to read them all. And I'll catch you in the next video. Take it easy. Peace.